What is up, my loves? It's your girl Diamond. I'm back with my all new review of Married to Medicine. I'm so glad this season is finally over. This reunion did need 3 parts. It just needed 2 parts, okay? But let's get into it. We know that last week it ended with Quad and Simone having an explosive argument in the back. And they're just throwing slugs back and forth. We got two women who want to be in a friendship, but just cannot let whatever the other person did go. They are still holding grudges with one another. And that's got to be exhausting and tiring. Because Simone just admit that because Quad was distancing herself, she wasn't coming around. The whole line that Simone would never let go of. You gave us your ass to kiss, so we hung out with Greg. They both were like, you shut the fuck up, you shut the fuck up, getting into each other's faces, screaming and yelling. Simone yelling across the room, this is Quad's karma coming back. It's like, what karma, Simone? Pretty much just to reveal that the way we went out of limb for you to get Mariah out, you didn't give us the same respect, support, and courtesy by still staying friends with us. So we did the same to you. But then Quad still kept coming back, and y'all still wanted her to be around, but y'all wanted to test her and go through all these hurdles and loops for her to be accountable, to be an honest. But let's keep it a buck. Almost everybody in this friend group have done things in the friendship. It's not one-sided. So because y'all brought Sweet Tea in to get that reaction out of Quad, now y'all gotta be open and honest and admit y'all used Sweet Tea as a pawn to go after Quad. So as well as them throwing slugs back and forth with one another, Simone says, you've never been there for me, you've never cared for me. Then Quad mentions the time where Simone and Jackie and Quad was searching for her father. And Simone was like, don't you ever talk about my dad. You only did it for the camera. You only did it for the cameras. It's a mess. You could just hear Simone's level of voice going up an octave. It's like a banshee screeching. So everyone is trying to separate them. Jackie removes Simone out to another room. Sweet Tea follows them. Now, for me, though, Sweet Tea, I will be cautious of you believing you got a friend in Simone. The way that she just admitted that she used you to get back at Quad because she still wants a friendship with Quad, but yet she's expecting so much out of Quad that Simone is not recognizing she don't have that proper space that Quad is welcome to. And Simone, if it's much of an issue or if it's this tiring to be in a friendship with Quad or whatever it is you want from her, then you need to leave well enough alone. Stop bringing up what happened. Stop bringing up what she didn't say or what she did not confide in you. Let everything happen between y'all organically where y'all both are showing up in the friendship and stop holding grudges with one another. Let it go. Stop getting reminded about what took place in y'all's friendship. If you let it go, you let it go. And stop bringing up what happened way back when to use it as a moment that she's not acting in a friendship right now. Stop doing that. So Toya, Contessa, and Mimi are trying to calm Quad down because she wants to understand what karma. I don't understand that. Me and you had an issue and we figured it out. And I want to understand what Toya is trying to say because Toya is pretty much saying that the way that Simone reacted was her real feelings. And this is how Simone felt. And because you weren't there for her, you guys weren't talking, that's when she went to Sweet Tea. Fucked up as it is, but I don't know. Simone was in need of a friend, and you were the one person she thought of. But since y'all weren't meeting each other halfway to fix it, she went over there and befriended T. And however it came across, Toya told Quad she has to accept it. But I don't want to be in a space where you're telling me how you feel, but you're still hiding what you're feeling. And Mimi tells her everybody has their own ways of figuring out their own problems. And I guess you can't expect for her to still hide it and still act like everything's all good. When it's not good, you just got to let people figure it out on their own. Everybody's built differently. Everybody processes things differently. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So with Jackie, Simone, and T trying to have a moment where they can calm Simone down, I didn't like the way that Jackie wanted to usher Sweet Tea out. Like she was being so forceful, so rude, like she was telling a child to go into their rooms or something. I'm like, Jackie, sit your tree ass down. Like you didn't even allow for Sweet Tea to see if she can calm Simone down because she was right there next to Simone trying to remove her. Here you go, trying to appear to be Simone's best friend, to act as if you want to be there to confide, to support, to calm her down. I didn't like that because you were quiet the entire time on stage, even when it was a question directed towards you. You plead the fifth, you was mute. Now, when it comes to this situation with you and Simone, you want to remove T. When I tell y'all Jackie would have gotten cussed the fuck out, you ain't gonna treat me like a fucking child. I was right there too. I'm friends with Simone too. What I have to say could be way more comforting than the shit you're not gonna say. Cause when Jackie and Simone sat down, Simone is still on that energy about what Quad said. And what did Jackie do? Jackie didn't do shit but look at her. Cause she wanted to look like she was listening to Simone. She wanted to look like she was caring. Jackie wasn't caring for shit. Anyway, um, but Simone was like, she brought up my father. When it came down to looking for my daddy, she only did that for the cameras. When the cameras weren't rolling, we didn't talk about my daddy. She never visited me. She didn't text me. She didn't call me. She didn't do none of that, Jackie. But Simone, I got to say this though. As well as you want to point out that you want Quad to let you know what's going on in her life so that way you can show up to support her, like you brought up her niece. That was Qua's point when she said, who helped you look for your father? Me. So both of y'all are even with mentioning things that are very hard to talk about, things that are very sensitive. So I would say at that point, Simone, you're even in that aspect. But as far as Quad showing up for the cameras, I do agree with that. But I don't believe she's like that in real life. I think that Quad can be very supportive. She could be a very good friend to the people who she wants to be with like that. As far as for the show, hell yeah, it's for a moment, it's for a bag, but it's because y'all are not that group that she can really be comfortable with. Hence, so why she goes back and forth with being there for y'all, not being there for y'all when the show is up, when the show's filming. Yeah, because y'all not giving her that real friendship. But as I'm watching everyone try to calm someone and Quad down, we see Heavenly on the couch watching the man because Heavenly want to say later down the line that she didn't know who to go to, so she just sat back and just looked at the men having their conversation. So we get back to the men continuing their conversation about Greg telling Quad she got a big fucking mouth or you talk too fucking much. Greg admitted it was stupid on his part. He want to say that's not his character. He was inebriated, sure. And the way that 3 fights broke out when they were only on that island for about 30 minutes is crazy. Greg put in 20 on 10 that it would have been a fight to the death. Everybody laughed because I'm like, please, sir, let's not do that. But Greg did say King is half his age and twice his size, meaning I would have lost. But if my wife came in, considering she is combat trained, yeah, we would have got him. Everybody laughed at that joke. For me, it's looking like the men can't coexist. The men can move forward with this, but they mentioned this conversation more than once. The conversation that Greg had with Letitia, where he calls her naive, and the hot mic moment with the way he spoke to her, he said, I do regret the way I spoke to her. And she is owed an apology. King comes in with his 2 cents in to talk about isn't it a pattern of us seeing the way he's speaking to Letitia in this way and how he wanted to add the way that he spoke to Quad. How it was a familiar feeling that you were used to speaking to Quad in that way as well. You know, being condescending, being a narcissist, because while you think it's cool to speak to your wife that way, you felt like it was cool to speak to my girl like that. And that's not cool. I'm not going to tolerate anybody coming at her. So I'm going to put up some boundaries. And I agree with that. I have nothing against King for saying that because I do agree because he wanted to make that a point throughout the entire reunion with the way that Greg has spoken to the women on the cast, meaning only Letitia and Quad, right? Because I do agree with even if it's someone that you used to be married to, I am now her man, and I'm not going to tolerate with the way you speak to her. I don't care if it's how you spoke to her in the past. That's not going to fly with me. But we're still discussing on what took place the night before, where I do think that Quad was being disrespectful too. So as well as he was being disrespectful when he did not have to add anything, both parties need to be accountable. So when it comes to the attempted assault charge, Apparently, Greg dropped the charge because King was calling to find out what was going on. Apparently, no charges were filed because he found it extremely funny. And even when it came down to the argument that they had between each other, King want to say it's because I stood up to you and you felt the way about it. No, Greg said you approached me because you wanted to intimidate me. He said, no, I didn't. You approached me. No, King, let's go back. The first time that y'all discussed what took place, Greg should not have mentioned that he told Quad she got a big fucking mouth because you didn't know that. You say you didn't hear it. He walked up to you to give that understanding that, oh, well, since I didn't know you, and I wish I would have known you better, I would have been able to let you know what was going on, let you know what was being said, and would have left it at that. That's what happened. But then later, you approached him to initiate the conversation about, I'm going to let that shit slide. That's never going to fly with me. And that's when all hell broke loose. So, King, don't rewrite history to only pick at the part where you and Greg had an argument going back and forth. That's not the first conversation. That was the second conversation that we didn't need to have. So Andy still wants to know, can they move forward? Greg's still on that wavelength about, I don't want to be around someone who wants to tarnish my character and have preconceived notions. But King said, no, I came in this group with no preconceived notions. I came in here wanting to get to know everybody. But what I did do was address something that I wasn't cool with. With you cussing at her was a problem that I needed to address. I agree. You're not going to disrespect her when I'm around. I understand what King is saying. But Greg still want to make it seem as if I can't be around someone who wants to attack me, attack my character. Greg, you did that all on your own. Okay. Curtis had to call you out for apologizing to King and smooth things out, like I said earlier. And he said, yeah, I did apologize to King about what I said, but he is still lost about why he should apologize to Quad. Why? Someone make it make sense for me. And Eugene and Cecil are trying to spoon feed this grown ass man about sometimes you need to take the higher road. You need to turn the other cheek. Because however you feel, well, what she said to you might not have been genuine, might not have been nice. You felt like it was a jab, but you did not need to say anything. But Greg said, oh, at that moment, it needed to be said. No, it didn't. You didn't have to say anything. I swear Eugene was about to fall out of having to convince this person. Because even if you didn't like it, even if you didn't agree to it, you should not have allowed it to bother you where you had to have a rebuttal. You didn't have to say nothing. Lord have mercy. But then he added the offense to the baby shower comment that Qua said. And again, I get it. She should be apologetic about how she said it, but you didn't have to feel offense to it. So Eugene is really trying to tell him, just admit you had a hard time of being in a weird situation, especially being on vacation with your ex-wife, and she got a new man. He all fine, his chest all out and shit. Just excuse me, accept that it was an uncomfortable environment. Everybody was uncomfortable. But he's like, no, that wasn't it. That wasn't it. And then Cecil said, can you accept what someone is telling you? I know you don't like it, but you got to accept it. Just accept it. You were feeling uncomfortable. You didn't like it. It's okay. Like, you're not going to be weak if you don't admit that you were hurt by seeing your ex-wife move on with someone else because you never thought she would be happy if she wasn't with you. You are mad that she still left you, even though you're happy in your situation, but you're not accepting that she's happy in her situation. Please, Greg, please grow up. So when the fellas are done with their segment, they go down and check on their wives. They get updated about what took place. Now they're back on stage, and Cecil is like, it's been 11 seasons, and you ladies still know how to act. It's the saddest day. So now we're also discussing what took place with Simone and Quad backstage. And Quad wants to know what karma, because I could have read that all wrong. Simone is tired of always being reminded about what they did to Quad. What have they done to Quad? What are they still doing to Quad? She's tired of it because she wanted to also be asked, what have you done? Now, before she could even allow for Quad to speak, because there's no telling what Quad could have said. Maybe Simone thought that Quad did a whole monologue of just saying a whole bunch of words before getting to the actual nitty gritty and explaining in great detail of the things that she's done. So Simone still goes on to say, we want to move forward, but you don't let us in. You don't trust us. You don't come around. And how are we supposed to move forward in a friendship? And if we're thinking we're moving forward, but you don't give us anything. So what are we supposed to do? We're not supposed to halt being friends with someone that you used to be in a relationship with. We're not supposed to do that because I feel like it's nothing wrong if we move forward with still having Greg as a friend. And if he brings someone in that he wants to marry, we should have a friendship with them too. But I don't think that Quad had an issue with that. I think the way y'all tried to throw it in her face, as well as the friendship you claim she's not trying to do her part in. That's the problem. And as far as you want to know everything about her life, Simone, you're not entitled to know these things about her if you're not going to change the way you go about it. If you're not going to have some form of self awareness to understand, you're not, it's a word I can't find, but you're not owed to know what's going on in her life unless she has developed that trust with you. You have allowed for that trust to build without you questioning everything that you didn't hear the first time. That's an issue for me. And she even screamed that Greg and Cecil have been friends the entire time since they've been divorced. And we didn't usher them in to attack you. Simone, keep it a buck. You did. You did. And now I'm thinking that you're tired of it being reminded. You're tired of it being brought up because now you got to admit you did it. Like sometimes Simone has a hard time accepting accountability. She has a hard time accepting the things that she's done. So as much as she's tired of Quad doing it, Simone does it too. So all Quad is telling her is, if you tell me everything that I've done in our friendship in the last 10 years, I will own it. I will move forward because even Quad admitted she is still holding on to some things that she's having a hard time letting go, which is what took place last year when Simone brought her niece. Okay. So that is still a fresh wound that she needs to still work through it. So Quad apologized for the outburst that she took out on Simone. She didn't deserve it. But Simone's like, I'm done. And it was looked as if she doesn't want to say I'm sorry too, but Andy had to say, so are you accepting her apology? Yeah, I'm accepting it. I don't know what to say to that no more, but anyway, Heavenly decides to use this as a moment to apologize to Contessa and say, Contessa, I am so sorry. Like, I don't know what you want me to do. I don't know what you want me to say, but I don't want to be in that space where our friends have to choose who they need to go to. Because I feel like that backstage. I know if I could run to Simone or I could run to Quad without neither one to feel no type of way. I didn't want us to be like that, Contessa. I don't. We got to fix it. We got to fix it. Contessa said, yeah, I would love that. That was all fake to me. That was not genuine. That was not real. Heavenly just wants to remove herself from any of the mess that she's created. Okay. This is all fake. It's not real. Good night. Moving on. But knowing that it's been a few years of seeing Greg and Quad on the same stage, but I do like to see that everybody has their significant other behind them. And with King and Quad and their relationship and how she got a brand new car, is there time to put a ring on it? But both of them agree. There's no timeline. There's no pressure. They're just enjoying each other. I'm here for that. Now we are solely focusing on what took place in Key West with all the couples, new couples, old couples, exes of couples, everything in between. They had fun time, fun challenges, and everything. And then how the rest of the group felt divided about what took place, especially with Greg and T. Should they be included back in the group? Because everybody took Quad and King's side about everything. So Andy asked a question to Quad about how can you describe what it's like to have sex 15 times a week? Like, how would you describe it, or how can you give advice to someone who wants to know what it's like to have sex 15 times a week? She says nothing but good vibes, happy vibes, to have a man who makes me feel loved, appreciated. It's all good. When I'm telling you the way that the camera panned to T's face anytime that she was talking about how happy she is with King, I'm like, T, You annoying the shit out of me, how immature you are. Because why are you looking irritated and annoyed that Quad is getting good dick and that she's in a good relationship? Like, I feel like in your mind, you're looking for a comeback to say to Quad about how you're always talking about King. And I know you're only doing it because you want to get a reaction out of Greg. And sometimes it's not even about that. Why are you caring about that? He's your man. Is Greg not satisfying you? I wouldn't even be giving a shit if my husband's ex-wife is happy getting good dick from her new relationship. That should not be an issue for me because she got her man, I got mine. So why would I get annoyed with that? So T, you can miss me with that shit because your facial expressions were really annoying the fuck out of me. No, I don't believe that Jack and Kurz are having sex. There's no number. It's non-existent. So when we get to what happened the night before where Qua was trashing Greg, she said she wasn't trashing him. She was speaking highly of her man. Okay, at the same time, no Quad, while you were enjoying your new man, enjoying how good he makes you feel, I think you were in a backhanded way trying to make Greg feel some type of way, right? Even when it came down to you planning the baby shower, I think that was what set both of them off because it did feel like you were trying to start shit. It felt like you were trying to dig at them. And then there was like a clip where you were like, there's a narcissist brewing. So come on, even if it wasn't the rum, it was how you were feeling. You said it. And everybody agrees that there's still unresolved issues between Greg and Quad, and King and T were caught in the crossfires. Absolutely. So Greg did apologize to Quad about what he said, right? And Quad wants it to be known. Whenever I'm speaking highly on my man, it's to not take any jabs at him. I also want to say, I don't want to ever be in that space where I have to silence how I feel about my situation because I have to coddle and appease to my ex-husband. I'm not doing that. And I agree with her. Just because I'm happy in my relationship doesn't mean you get using and flipping as if I'm trying to make you feel some type of way when I'm not. I should not even be thinking about your feelings anymore. We're not married anymore. We are divorced, have been divorced for years. I don't care about how shit makes you feel no more. I'm all about making me happy. So I agree with that. So for, Greg to feel the way that he feel, but he didn't have to say nothing. Yes, Quad, I do think in the beginning you did say certain things just to get a reaction out of him and he took the bait. But I do also agree that Quad should not be in the space where she has to silence how she feels in her new relationship if it's going to make her ex-husband feel away. That's her ex-husband's problem, not hers. And T said, yeah, I think that's fair, but I also want to, wish you wouldn't say nothing about my husband. I swear to God, T, this is the part where Toya was right about how you act like a child because what the hell are you talking about? Are you not listening? Like he wasn't mentioned. Like she's letting you know. Whenever I'm speaking on my man, there should never be a reason for you to make it seem as if I am saying it to get a reaction out of your husband. Why would I do that? Like, sweet T, what is the problem? This has nothing to do with you. Like, why are you stepping in and jumping in to defend Greg and your relationship when it's not even in question right now? Like, and why are you trying to continuously drag an issue? It's not even there. And this was a conversation that all of y'all were a part of. So Greg was in the conversation, but she's telling you, whenever I say something about my man, it's not for Greg. It's not for any of his reactions. It's not for any of his feelings. It's not for that. So for you to ignore whatever she said just to say, I don't want you to ever mention my husband. Girl, you said it last week and it pissed me off too. You are immature, sweetie, and I don't like that. I honestly don't know why we ended up going back to a time that Greg and Quad were mentioning their divorce and how Greg is complaining about how he gave Quad everything. He didn't ask for any money. He could have asked for money, and how Quad helped him with his business. He's like, you didn't help me with my practice. I'm like, why are we talking about this? We should not be discussing what took place when you guys were going through y'all divorce. You guys are in new relationships right now. And the fact that both of them can go back and recall a time about what took place in their divorce, about what was said from both parties, is not good. These people need to heal. These people need therapy. Like, it's crazy as hell to me. And Sweet Tea, you need to look at Greg because Greg is still holding on to what took place in their marriage. He is still holding on what took place in their divorce. He has not let it go. You're fighting like the Dickens to think that it's all Quad. No, it's all Greg. It is all him. So we now get the unspoken rule that it's disrespect to come at another man's wife. And if any of that man's wife was to feel disrespected, it's automatic for the husbands to come in and defend his wife. Absolutely. And Cecil says, while I do believe that it's up to a man to defend his wife if she's being disrespected, I also believe that we can't just allow for the wife to say what it is she got to say. Then here come Heavenly being the only one talking by saying that I just don't agree. I don't think that is wrong for a wife to say what she got to say, because by the time I say what I said, my husband's not going to care what I said. He's going to care about what you said. But going back and forth with Cecil and Heavenly, he agreed with that. But I just don't think it still should be something that you could just give your wife the ability to do. I don't think it's fair for one party to say something, but the other party can't say something. I'm with Cecil on that. Don't give license to one person thinking they can say what they want to say, and the other person can't come back with that. It's respect on both sides. As the man, as the woman, know that what you say can have consequences, knowing that what you say can have repercussions. You don't know how another person is going to react by the things you say. So I'm with Cecil on that. But then Toya added that Greg kind of ignited when he said, "We don't care what you think," which led to the altercation. And I kind of agree with that. Like anything that Quad said, whether she was drunk or not, should not have bothered you for a rebuttal. Even with T in the background saying he wanted the marriage to end. Sometimes T, you didn't need to add anything to it because it's not even about you and you shouldn't even get in it. You should not get involved and make it your issue when it shouldn't be. So T even said, y'all just saying it's a double standard. Everybody operates differently. That's Toya said, no, it's not a double standard. Because you want to say people operate differently. Okay, well, that's not how we operate. Clearly, you don't feel no type of way about how he talks to you and how he treats you. So you can stay over there with that because our husbands don't treat us like that. I got to agree with Toya. Because you're not finding it an issue that he does treat you like a child. He does talk condescending to you. And Toya is like, that's not how we deal with our husbands. Our husband listens to us. Our husband doesn't tell us that we're naive. Yours do, but you're okay with that. So now we continue with the hot mic moment between Greg and Sweet Tea. And Eugene said, everybody on stage will be lying if they didn't have a moment with their spouse that some things were said that might have been uncomfortable, that might have been shocking, that might have been out of pocket, that might have been disrespectful. Eugene was right. Heavenly, the first one to say, you can make as many excuses as you want, Eugene, but my husband has never talked to me like that. Cue the beautiful being footage. We got a flashback, I think a couple of seasons ago, where Damon checked Heavenly about saying certain things, and he's like, if you just done what I asked, we wouldn't be here. No, you didn't. So, Heavenly, it's been proof that there are certain situations that you do things that Damon has to check you about. It ain't about cussing you, it ain't about putting his hands on you and grabbing you. It's about how couples can go back and forth with one another. And everybody on this cast have had moments where their spouses might have said something. We got it with Scott and Contessa. We got it with Simone and Cecil. We definitely got it with Jackie and Curtis. We know we got it with Heavenly and Damon, Toya and Eugene. Like everybody on this stage has had arguments with their spouse that people might have not liked how it turned out. So I agree with Eugene. But Greg apologized to Sweetie backstage, but he also wants to apologize to her in front of everybody. And King still wants to connect that the way that he speaks to Sweetie is the same pattern that he speaks to Quad. And Contessa said, weren't you and Eugene having that type of contentious arguments? And Toya said, yes, me and Eugene went through a rough patch. We were talking so horribly to one another. But that's when me and him both said we need counseling. We need some help. And that's where Toya is acting out of concern when it comes to Greg and T. We just want you to do the work because it's looking like you don't stick up for yourself. It's looking like he treats you the way he wants to treat you and you're just accepting it. And that's not what we want to see. But then T said, well, that's our normal. Girl, That's not something you want to admit to, because it's looking like you don't want to address the fact that Greg needs to figure out how to speak to you in a more kindly manner. He needs to be more respectful of you, and you need to check him, put him in his place, tell him about how he's not going to talk to you like that, he's not going to treat you like that. That's the whole thing. So Contessa and Mimi have believed that they're in counseling. They've agreed to say that they're in counseling. Okay, sure. I don't know. Are y'all really in counseling? Or you're just saying it. I don't know. But either way, can they all move forward and coexist? Sweet Tea said they can. Quad is being cautious about it, especially with the way things have turned out, and she doesn't want to be put in that environment, so she needs some time. I ain't dealing with Greg in this stupid ass song. So now we get the ladies back on stage. And I think they want to get a flashback about how all the ladies have been throwing shade to one another, but who throws the most shade and who also crosses the line with shade. Heavenly, no surprise there. And Dr. Mimi is working with Heavenly on how to figure out how to receive certain constructive criticism, on how to be mindful when she knows she's going below the belt, and how she needs to have a better vocabulary and being more verbal about feeling some type of way instead of going left. We'll see. Contessa and her outfit choices. She finds it funny that her lack of style this season wasn't questioned. She's like, I'm getting noticed. It is what it is. Um, Toya and her effort with this new Birkin bag, and how her son calls it her personality, and how her and her son are the same. Toya still stands on the fact that Jackie is boring and Toya is more fun. Then they get to another game about who has said this, and majority of the shade that was said was by Heavenly. So it ended off with everybody saying nice things to one another. Heavenly appreciates Sweet Tea for being strong enough to come to the reunion, and how she appreciates how hard she goes for her husband. You got to respect that. That's her husband. Can't nobody tell her how she's not supposed to ride for her husband. The same way, Heavenly, you ride for your husband, and how everybody else on this cast rides for their mate. So it is what it is. Sweet Tea tells Quad, I am wishing you happiness on your journey with IVF, as well as your happiness with King, and maybe me and you can connect and bond on our journey with IVF. That was sweet to say. I think Quad said the same thing about how she wants to come up with a better way of getting to know T and connecting on different levels, because they might have some things more in common than they think. Simone did a toast with everybody. She wants to let Jackie know, let's continue our friendship. Tells Heavenly, keep being a shady bitch. Mimi, welcome to the wild ride. Toya, let us know when we can get an invite to your house to taste Eugene's cooking and enjoy some wine. Toya said everybody is invited to her house. And T, we love one another. Contessa, welcome back. And that is a wrap on season 11 of Married to Medicine. And I'm done. Oh my God. Oh Lord, I'm so happy this season is over. I kid you not, y'all. I kid you not. But y'all, that's it. That's it. I ain't got nothing else to say. As far as how the season ended, my thoughts on the season. I mean, the season was okay. It got repetitive, it got boring at times, but it was an okay season. I also wanted to add that during Simone's toast, she did apologize to Quad, and she said, I too underestimated the year that you had, and I'm sorry for the part that I played. So hopefully that Quad can marinate on Simone having to admit that she's sorry, but I don't want Simone to act like because she said it, it's supposed to just be over. Let Quad marinate through it, realize what took place, and work on moving forward. The same applies to Simone. But that's, in the end, that's all I have. And please stay tuned for my next video, and I'm going to see you guys later. Bye.